Okay, so testing battery, it were a big success then. We're very fundamental to our training justifications then and still now. But we needed a way to share that with the boxing community because that was our goal. The reason why we wanted to do the testing, reason why I wanted to work in boxing is to have an impact on the sport as a whole. However, we know that not a lot of coaches and athletes will be picking up the latest journal of strength and conditioning research, reading peer-reviewed articles. I don't do it as much as what I should do, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach, so not many people are going to be picking up that in terms of having an impact. So we needed to find a way on sharing that message, and we started I was doing my own blog, Wilson Strength. On Blogspot, started the combat conditioning one, but we needed something that was like had a ring to it, had that name, and we decided to launch Boxing Science as a website to share this information on training to then have an impact. So we got together in a lab at Sheffield Hallam University on the whiteboard. All good plans start with a whiteboard session, and we planned out boxingscience.co.uk.
We did, and we had like, what do they call it? Like a wireframe?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? So design of what the homepage would look like, and then the different like headings, didn't we? Yeah. I'm sure all websites start off a little bit like this. So we had like Coach's Corner on there, bit for conditioning and psychology and strength and nutrition, didn't we? All on there, all mapped out. And there was just a small thing of working out actually how to do our own website. We managed to code our own website, which didn't look too great, but it did the job. We could embed YouTube videos and put together articles, and that website served us for about 5 years, didn't it? And it amassed hundreds, thousands, millions of reads, and that helped us then build that strong foundation for our business, because we needed to share that message first. And this is something that I talk about on the Boxing Science Mentorship. It's that a lot of people try and jump towards try and sell a program first, but we was sharing the message for free for so long before actually launching the Train Like a Champion. I think it was 4 years, wasn't it?
4 years from when we first started working in boxing, but in terms of the Train Like a Champion came just after 2 years. And I think that the Train Like a Champion program was the key thing, because like a lot of people were obviously reading and learning more, but we weren't given any kind of direct program. And then the Train Like a Champion just saw like this influx of people from all over the world that I didn't, because obviously we could see on Google Analytics like some people like going into it and look at like some views, but you're thinking, well, they're just random. But when you're seeing actual people from different countries buying the Train Like a Champion program, you're thinking, wow, this program's actually being used and helping people get fitter, faster and stronger. And that Train Like a Champion program is still something that is available on our website today. Obviously, we've made quite a few different tweaks, made sure that the branding is a lot better because the original one were quite good actually. The front covers were amazing, because the guy that did that was Adam Insom, who ran Knockout Posters at that time, but now is the head graphic designer for Matchroom Boxing. I keep seeing him. I'm just like, this is why we've got all these posters here, Jordan and Fabio as well. And Lerone, because like I just ask Adam, can I have that get that printed out? So shout out to Adam on that one. But yeah, the Train Like a Champion Blueprint to Elite Performance, it's a program that has strength, movement, core training, got the testing battery in there as well. We've got the high intensity conditioning, also a nutrition plan as well. And that is part of like one bundle, but also we've done different versions of it. Train Like a Champion 2, 3, 4. We might see a 5 well, once we get time to do it. But all that is all available either in single packages on the Train Like Champion membership, or also on the lifetime membership as well. And with our 10 years coming up, Boxing Science, we're putting on a special deal for our lifetime membership, where it's normally £250 to gain membership for all the Train Like Champion programs and our webinars and exercise library, and you have lifetime access to that. That's normally £250. For the 10 years, we're actually bringing that down to £100. And also, you get a free t-shirt with that as well. So that is our deal for our 10 years. So if you're interested in that, have a look at the link in the description. Moving on, it seems like we've spent a lot of time around 2014. We can't spend that much time on 2015, 16 and going forward. Let's talk about like 10 years as a whole. What have been the biggest changes of these last 10 years? Like, it's a conversation like we had just a couple of years ago, because there's a football article that comes out every second year of the decade or something, like 2012, 2022. And it's like, what have been the biggest changes in football? Yeah. And when we were talking about it, we were thinking how much has actually changed in boxing over the 10 years. From my perspective as a strength and conditioning coach, like it felt really difficult to win people over in terms of like strength and conditioning having an impact on boxing performance. But now you see every single champion doing some sort of strength and conditioning. We're talking about Kell Brook having the press conference. This is us doing sports science and it being totally new. Whereas like now you're seeing all these champions, it's like it's part of their routine. And that's why we did the Boxing Science React series, where we're looking at people like Canelo, Golovkin, Madrimov got some fantastic methods, Bivol, Beterbiev, they've all got training, like some form of strength and conditioning in their plan. It's not all the same, all very different, but they're trying to do new school methods to try, and you have this argument between old school versus new school, and old school being the best because people like Sugar Ray Robinson didn't do it, Muhammad Ali didn't do it. But like now he's seeing the best boxers in the world now using strength and conditioning and sports science to help further enhance their performance. So that is showing if the best are doing it, they're better than the rest. So it's going to be effective.
It's just part of being a professional, isn't it? I think when we first started, there was like the back end of boxers who had like a camp mentality. Now, most boxers now are full-time professionals, if you know what I mean. Yeah. They don't live, on or off camp. They're always, training or always looking after the body in whatever way. Obviously, they're not training as intense as they would do on a training camp, but they're always, in shape, ready to go. And, it doesn't take that much to build them up in camp, does it? And get them going again. Like, they don't need to drop pounds and pounds and pounds, first of all, to get them to a point where they can start training, and then they've only got 8 weeks to train. So I think it's just being a good professional, and everyone's standards have risen as well.
Definitely.
And I think one great thing about social media now is that we're able to see what these guys are doing over here, see what these guys are doing over here, and what these guys are doing over here, which is a good thing. So we can see what they're doing, look at the different variety of training methods, which is a bit of a double-edged sword, because you can look at it and you can think, oh, that's great, or that's not great. But what you don't always have is the context behind it, of why it's been done, when it's been done, how often it's been done.
And why is it suited to that individual? Which sometimes then gets lost in translation. So it's a negative in that respect, but it also adds to some confusion as well, because you'll get people going, oh, so-and-so does this, so we need to do this. So-and-so needs to do this, without it being thought through properly and applied in a systematic
manner and an approach that suits that individual that you're working with.
Exactly. That's why we do the Boxing Science React series. So you can have a look at these training methods of world champions and find suitable alternatives, learn what the context is of that exercise, why it's beneficial, and why it might not be appropriate for all athletes. So there's like methods that Madrimov does. I'm watching that, I'm thinking, there's no way I've ever had a boxer that's been able to do what he can do. So for somebody to then try and do some plyometric clapping pull-ups, all they're going to do is get themselves injured, either through catching the bar, being really unstable, or absolutely missing the bar and falling flat on their face. But that's the reason why we do the Boxing Science React series, is to give people a detailed understanding of what the methods are and how they can be beneficial to them, but most importantly, how they can apply that. And that's why we do the educational workshops as well.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big thing that has changed in 10 years and something that we're quite proud of in terms of boxing science, how many people that we've had on the Ultimate Coaching for Combat Sports workshops. Originated in London, Feltham. We stayed there for quite a bit, probably about 2.5 years there. We started it off and thinking, in fact, no, let's go back. So the first actual workshop was done in Liverpool in 2016. We had about 18 months where we were trying to figure out the way that we were going to do it. Then we launched it in London. And it was amazing that about 20 coaches and practitioners turned up to listen, like one paying the money, spending the weekend, but also how far people had travelled. So like people travel from Andorra, Slovenia, Germany, all over the UK as well to come and learn from us from the weekend. And I think like there's definitely through social media, but also workshops like ours, workshops like other people's as well, that are further educating coaches on how to strength conditioning in boxing and combat sports.
Yeah, I think that's really important moving forwards, is that, you know, we have a sound, robust educational program that, you know, people can not just like learn what we do and other people do and copy and paste to an extent, but is understand those differences between what we've got here and what we can do and our level of knowledge and our athletes, but how you can create a training program that is bespoke to your situation and circumstances and level of expertise and development of your athlete as well. So I think that's it's a challenge, but it's a developmental opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And that's how I start off every single workshop, is saying like, in this workshop, what we're going to do, you've been watching Boxing Science for a while, either on YouTube, Instagram, might be subscribed to our newsletter. You see a lot of content, but you don't have the context there. But also the stuff that we're going to be teaching this weekend is being done with professional fighters that have like an unlimited kind of range to be able to be training. They're not the full-time athletes. So for you to kind of drag and drop and put it into your programs would be quite difficult. So what we want to do is give you the context and understanding, and also have the practical applications to then put these training methods into your coaching environment. And we've had like so many different coaches over the years that have come in and absolutely love the workshops. Like for me, like coaching is first, being part of the athletes camp, being there on fight week, then being successful, winning titles, progressing with their career. That's the main thing for me. The second, very close second, is from an enjoyable perspective and kind of giving me that job satisfaction, if I can even call it a job, is doing the coaching workshops. Like I said, we started off in London. We moved to the Boxing Science Performance Centre in 2021. We started delivering them here. and it's just a perfect environment. And we've had like people, like I said, people from all over the UK, but also all over the world. We've had somebody like traveling from Kuwait, and somebody, San Diego, and just going on these like, was it a 10, 12 hour flight from San Diego to travel over to Sheffield to come and listen to us waffle on for 2 days. If you think this is long and we're waffling on this podcast,
we never keep to a timetable. If you like structure and organisation in your workshops.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we had some guys that were just like laughing at us, like how kind of we were going in different directions with the workshops.
You keep coming up with different exercises to give people.
Exercises, yeah. Yeah, doing the core training workshops, plyometrics, doing our conditioning protocols and everything like that, and sharing that. And that gives us a lot of pride. We've been doing it for 7 years now. We've had, I need to tally it up, we've probably got 400.
I got 400 in my head.
Yeah, in the workshops. Another proud moment for myself is to do these international as well. So we started that in 2023 with a Dubai workshop, and then in Australia 2024. Yeah. And that was just unbelievable, because you're thinking like it is on the other side of the world, and we've got these people turning up to listen to us about training and everything. I
remember when we sold Train Like a Champion first time, and like the first sale came through from Australia, and we're like, Australia?
Yeah, unbelievable. And then so we did 3 workshops: Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. Over 60 coaches, 65 coaches on them workshops across the 3 of them, and how well received it was. It was just an unbelievable experience. And even then I was expecting everybody to be from Australia. I had somebody I had a few people like travel from Hong Kong and Singapore. And we're like, how long is it to get from thinking like, 8-hour flight? I'm like, this is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, it's a privilege, it's humbling. And it is like the second most enjoyable part. I don't want to say the most enjoyable part, because winning on Fight Night, that's the most enjoyable part. You can't replace that. But yeah, I think like in terms of like looking at the biggest changes in boxing over the last 10 years is the acceptance from like top end boxers, and most boxers now have some form of strength and conditioning in their program. The education and the awareness of that as well. Awareness being on social media, a lot of people sharing their training methods. Education being like there's been more structured stuff out there as well, in terms of like there's more S&C coaches sharing their practices, whereas before we were like, this is a secret. Actually, we're looking to try and inform athletes. And that's not only strength and conditioning, that's nutrition as well. Nutrition is huge, and like the work that Lee Rickards does here at Boxing Science, the amount of information that he shares through his own posts, through his Q&A sessions, either on the podcast or just on his Instagram stories, is just giving like boxers so much more information and guidance, because that is so important. Nutrition,
definitely
helping them make weight safely and effectively. That is a key thing.
Do you remember we had a comment once from somebody who worked at the Australian Institute of Sport who said that, are you not afraid that you're giving all your secrets away?
Yeah.
And we were like, no, because the methods are out there. The secret is how you implement those methods with your fighter and that individual, and you know how you program and monitor and use the data and work with them as an athlete, as an individual and a person. That's the main point. Everything else, you know, you could find that conditioning method out there, over there. Yeah. You know, you can find that strength, that you find that exercise because somebody's done it a million times over there. And so the skill is in piecing together those parts of the puzzle. That's what creates the secret. By sharing these methods, that's not giving away your secret. That's helping the community grow and develop. And then hopefully you'll then find different ways to apply those methods, because somebody will try it out in this way and say, have you done it this way before? Have you tried this one out? Oh, I got this from Danny, but I've tweaked it slightly. And now I'm doing this punch specific exercise in this way with this particular exercise. That's actually pretty good, that.
Yeah.
Or a new piece of technology has been developed as a part of the work that we've shared, and now we're thinking about using a new piece of technology within testing or training.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole ecosystem that that has been developed and is growing, and it's community based, and it's helpful for everyone.
Yeah.
And we just need to keep pushing up that base. Definitely.
And that in boxing, because it is so like kind of scattered in terms of like even the belts, but like promotions and different gyms and everything. But like something that we can really take inspiration from, that ticks all them boxes like you just mentioned there, is the UFC Performance Institute. And that kind of inspired us to do the Boxing Science Performance Centre. We couldn't call it an institute, could we? Because we're not on that scale at all. So we're looking at the UFC Performance Institute in terms of the kind of the philosophy that they have in terms of sharing the information and upskilling practitioners and athletes, but to create a central hub there to get all that data and to deliver a service for athletes as well. That was inspiration for us, and this is the reason why we launched the Boxing Science Performance Centre. So decided to move here at the start of 2021, with lockdown 2020 being a challenging time, but also a time of change for boxing science, because the methods that we're putting out there in terms of like how to adapt your training at home and the workouts and everything like that just saw our social media just go up exponentially on my platform and on the Boxing Science platform, and that had a transfer towards sales, and that that gave us a unique opportunity to then reinvest that into the performance center. And it's the best move that we've ever made, because like having your own base of a gym, and the thing is with the gym, I always I felt like I wanted my own facility, but it had to match what we're about in terms of our philosophy, in terms of what our brand name is. Company name's Boxing Science. So we need to match what our name is. And if we had to do that on a smaller scale in a small gym without the technology, then we to perform our testing, to do our monitoring, to give athletes detailed feedback and analysis, we wouldn't be matching up to our name. 2021, that was a perfect opportunity where we can invest into a facility on a much lesser scale than the UFC Performance Institute, but something that where boxers can come in, athletes and coaches can come in to do their testing, to have feedback, to have some sort of consultancy, and to then go away and do their thing. And that's kind of what we've seen with so many different athletes. Like the prime example for us is Fabio Wardley, a relationship that we started in 2020. He travels in from Ipswich, stays over. For a night, he gets his testing, he gets his training, he has a few adjustments to his program and his training load prescription. Then he goes back and trains with his coach in Ipswich, and we have that with people in Scotland, people down south as well. And it's like how we're in a perfect position to be able to deliver that service. And not only that, we're talking about that as a like looking like the UFC Performance Institute, where people come in for a short amount of time and then leave. But it's a facility that the athletes train in, and there's no limitations in terms of what they can do.
Yeah, not like some time restrictions, obviously, but I think everything they need in terms of physical preparation is here, isn't it? And we've got everything. We've got performance kitchen. You know, we can do resting metabolic rate testing to complement nutrition.
Recovery section with the sauna, the ice bath.
Yeah, recovery, we've got that covered. Sauna, ice bath. We've got lactate analyzer to be able to get an indication of lactate. We've got velocity-based training devices through GymAware. You know, we've got more dumbbells than anyone.
yeah. We've got the altitude tent.
Altitude tent, yeah, as well.
So it's where, you know, we're matching up to the name, matching up to the motto of the blueprint to elite performance, and mastering things that take no talent. Yeah. We've got some talented fighters that come into the program, and that are very committed and dedicated to the program. Everything that they're doing here takes no talent to do. Yeah. All it takes is that little bit of dogging them to keep to go through them hard sessions, whether that's on the air bike, whether that's in the altitude tent, whether that's when they don't feel like lifting, but they've got to try and lift as fast as possible, jump as high as possible. And we're seeing like some really good improvements in terms of their performance. People that are coming in, day out, constantly improving. And also like having everything under one roof, where we've got Lee in the performance kitchen. It's not just in the kitchen all the time, but is around, and that's so important from a multidisciplinary perspective, where you can have that communication with a nutritionist straight away. Yeah. Whereas like before, I had a nutritionist that was based elsewhere, and this athlete has a different nutritionist. Everything's like under one roof where we can all communicate effectively. Nutritionists seeing them day in, day out, so they can go, right, let's check your body fats now. And instead of like thinking, right, towards the back end of training camp, let's check your body fats. Oh, there's a problem here. That problem could have been sorted 4 or 6 weeks out. But yeah, that's the goal of the performance center, having everything under one roof to give the athletes the best possible support on a daily basis, but also them athletes that are wanting to come in and find out a little bit more about their performance, and coaches to find out a little bit more about their performance. You know, we're not wanting to try and train everybody and get everybody on our training methods. We're just trying to give them as much information as possible, so then they can
make good, sound decisions based upon that for their own circumstances.
And the prime example is Adam Lusby, Enhanced Sport Performance, who brings his athletes down on a regular basis, brings down Paul Craig, gets an unbiased opinion on somebody's training. Instead of like, when you do testing, sometimes you can think, we actually wanting this to be improved, that to be improved. Whereas like, really, I'm coming in from like a kind of bird's eye point of view and going, right, this is what this athlete needs to work on, without any kind of context for them.
Yeah, it's great to have that unbiased review, isn't it? And an opinion. Again, that's another thing that helps with relationships with other people within the community as well.
So we're talking about like some of the athletes that we've had in here. We've had some big wins, but we've also had like some big challenges as well. We talked about Kell Brook at the start, obviously big challenges in them training camps, but a mammoth task for us was to start training Kell when he had a bit of time away from us, came back onto the program 2016 to prepare for his jump up to middleweight to take on Gennady Golovkin. We got the call. Right, got an 8-week training camp. Kell's moving up to middleweight. What are the things that we need to put in place straight away? I were off to Fuerteventura within 5 days.
Yeah.
I had to have a difficult conversation with my wife, my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. You know, I'm going to have to cancel 2 holidays because I've got this massive opportunity, huge fight. And really at the time, we knew it was big, but then kind of when I talk about it now in the gym, they're just like, yeah, that was just like...
Great. Loads of people remember it.
Yeah.
Loads and loads of people remember it because it was a superstar, arguably pound for pound number one at the time, coming over to England, which is heard of, really, is it? You know, it's not really
not often.
So
Still waiting for Canelo to come over. Yeah, I'll be there.
It generated a lot, you know, a huge amount of interest, and the fact that it was Eubank was supposed to box, wasn't it? Eubank Jr. And then Kell just went, I'll box him. And I think that just caught the imagination of the public, because they thought, you know, well, he's stepping up to do this. He's taking on this absolute monster. This guy who's unbeatable.
And you felt that on fight night as well. Yeah. Like, you felt like that excitement in the air of like that. There was something exciting, something special that were happening that night.
All the way through that, all the way through the fight week, it was creating like the crowds down around in London, absolutely crazy, going mad for Kell, loads and loads of energy and like media workouts, just incredible, really. Yeah. And like being because we were on the stage for the weigh-in, and that was just like so intense as well. Yeah. It's crazy. Intense for that, but it was a different experience, really, wasn't it? From other fights, in terms of like getting Kell down to weight. This time wasn't so much of a.
Yeah, we had the challenge of taking an athlete from welterweight to middleweight, 13 pounds difference, nearly a stone increase in just a short amount of time. So when anybody's looking to move up weight, we're saying, right, over a certain amount of time, of one weight at a time. Yeah. But this were 8 weeks in one sitting. So we had to think about a range of different things. So like, one, we wanted Kell to be strong at that weight. Yeah. So we needed to work on physical strength, but also at the same time, we needed to keep speed in the program, because he was never going to be stronger than Golovkin, but he could be faster. And he showed that in a few rounds of success that he had with him, that he had that speed advantage on him. And we were like, right, find different ways that how we can optimize speed. Yeah. So using plyometrics, using punch-specific exercises, using velocity-based training. So we're not only getting stronger, but we're getting strong with speed as well. Working different velocity zones, working between 0.5 to 0.75, depending on different exercises. Yeah. Also, we knew that we didn't have a lot of time with him, so developing sound foundations in terms of full range lifts, everything like that. We didn't have that time. We needed to get him stronger and as fast as possible within them 8 weeks. Yeah. So using rack RDL, using Anderson squats, using partial range pressing, and keeping that consistent theme all the way through, not chopping and changing. Doing this exercise for 3 weeks and then changing. We've just kept it the same exercise, just manipulated them numbers. And also, like I said, with Kell before, that data feedback, giving him that confidence that is improving, getting faster, getting stronger. And that came out in his interviews as well, saying, because there was a lot of media.
Oh, yeah, there was,
around sport, our involvement.
Yeah, Abel Sanchez called it an 8-week science experiment.
Yeah. 8-week sport science experiment, because there was a lot made about it, because at that time there weren't a lot of S&C in sports science, but also at the same time that they wanted to try and push, look at the changes that it's making to adapt to moving up to middleweight. Yeah. How was he going to do it? Yeah. And I've been involved in big fights since, but I've never had Sky Sports News or Look North or Calendar, ITV, BBC News coming down on a regular basis, weren't it?
Almost every week, it felt like.
Yeah.
We were going out to BBC Sport out in Fuerteventura as well. Yeah. So it's intense.
So it started off with a 3-week camp out in Fuerteventura. At the same time, we did the 30-second sprints on the track, which I probably won't do again, because it was so demanding on tight hamstrings. And then we did the hot baths after that to have some sort of heat adaptation and passive adaptations with that.
Learning from earlier work that we've done, and when we'd use the environmental chamber as well. Yeah. Now implement that in a passive strategy.
Yeah. And we were just trying to get as fit as possible in a very short amount of time, using the the little windows of opportunity. So if somebody's like looking at trying to get as fit as possible within 8 weeks, getting in a sauna or something like that after the training can actually prolong them adaptations that you gain from them sessions.
Yeah.
So we needed to get him as fit as possible, but at a higher weight.
Yeah.
So he's going to be carrying more weight, more muscle. It's going to be more challenging to get oxygen towards those muscles. Yeah. So we prioritize not central adaptations because we already got a great foundation for that through his previous training, but looking at how he's conditioned the muscle to being able to work at high intensities. We had the muscle buffer protocol.
Yeah.
That is looking to try and control muscular acidosis to a certain level. We normally do gold standard 2 minutes on, 3 minutes off.
Yeah.
But we had a thing where we wanted him to work in bursts.
Yeah.
So
high intensity,
because we needed to be working in bursts, get out, because he won't be going to be trying to stand in the pocket for too long with Golovkin. He needed to work in bursts and then move. So we tried to come up with a new...
Yeah. While you were in Fuerteventura, I was in Sheffield, stabbing myself, try to come up with like different work to rest ratios that would elicit a blood lactate response, which was what we were looking for, of like 10 to 12 millimoles per litre. So the reason why we're doing this is because we're doing a 2 minute interval, but when we move into the taper, we wanted to do a lot higher intensity sprinting, but we didn't want to induce a spike in mechanical load. So we had to then think about ways in which we were transitioning the intensity from a relatively high intensity interval, but into a really, really high intensity, and then into the taper. So I was on the curve almost daily, just like smashing out these different types of interval training session, seeing what I could, how quickly I could get my lactate up to 10 to 12 millimole, how long I could maintain that for, what was the fastest speed I could hit for the longest duration of time before it either spiked lactate or it induced fatigue. And I did loads and loads of sessions and settled on a session which was 12 seconds on, 48 seconds off. So a 12-second sprint, about 90 to 95% max sprint speed on the curve. So it was really quite high intensity. 48 seconds passive recovery, repeated again. And I did a few versions of it. So I did 15 minutes. That was all right. 20 minutes was really, really tough, like the last 5 intervals. And then I did 25 minutes, which was like awful. And then I did 30 minutes of it as well. And I was absolutely cooked on that one as well. So when I settled on it after doing these tens of different variations, I then just pushed to see what the limit would be at that. And so around about 20, the reps is probably just about right. But it's just...
I don't really push that many people towards past 20 now.
Yeah.
But
20 is about right. So it was just that was like just self-experimentation. What speeds can I hit? How does that influence physiological responses? And now that type of training and that combination of work to rest ratio is a real key part of the
still a key part. Like I'll probably use that with most athletes for most programs, because the 12 seconds on, 48 seconds off is probably where I see the biggest adaptations in a very short amount of time. And also from a long-term perspective as well. Like I look at sometimes particularly with Fabio, because Fabio's like, why is it still so hard after all these years? And it's like, look at where your numbers were. You're about 40% faster. It's ridiculous how much improvements in it. It's like, all right, okay. But why does it still feel like it's because you're going 40% faster. But in a very, very short window, because you've not only got that speed, but you've also got that lactate. So we create like a lactate speed ratio. Yeah. And we're seeing like, obviously less lactate and higher speed is showing that an athlete is being able to perform at high intensities more efficiently. So that 12 seconds on, 48 seconds off, fantastic. But that shows like through like different situations, you got to try and find a way to get it. And that is, again, we're talking about being scientifically led or scientifically informed. Yeah. We're informed on this is the adaptation that we're wanting, but these are the tweaks that we're going to do. We're very data driven. We're getting that adaptation. Another saying that we say here at Boxing Science is we're training the adaptation, not the exercise. Yeah. We're wanting that adaptation where we're getting the muscle buffering capacity improved, but also we're getting some sort of neuromuscular output at the same time, and that repeatedly as well. And that was, we saw huge improvements in Kell in that short window. We're going up to 25 reps. That just shows you how fit and strong and mentally tough he was and still is. But yeah, like I'd only get them doing probably about 20 reps now. Sometimes on the curve, more than likely do it on the air bike. So again, tweaking it over time, finding the right ways for different athletes. But yeah, that is like one of our key sessions now, and very much a big part of the program. Another big challenge for us was Tokyo, going from one superstar, Golovkin, a couple of years later, preparing Jim McDonald for Inoue in Japan. Again, history is kind because at that point, we didn't really know too much about Inoue. Now, if we went, right, we're going to Japan to fight Inoue, everyone was like, what are you doing? But yeah, it's, we had Jamie in, we had him for a fight camp, and then going to Japan to fight Inoue, we had to find like different ways, right? How we're going to acclimatize, how we're going to travel over to Japan, how we're going to spend 3 weeks in Japan, right? And we're going to be talking about the food thing in a bit. It was very difficult to go from there to Japan and spend 3 weeks there. Food, everything like that, training facilities. So we decided to go into Dubai for 2 weeks, and then go to Japan for a week. Dubai camp went really well. And then obviously when you go into Japan, he's saying about Kell with the mind games. With them, they basically with the people that were organising the fight, they were like taking us to Yokohama instead of taking us to Tokyo. And the difference in terms of like how westernized it was night and day. It sounds really obvious, but everything in Japanese. But at that point, like probably now you'd be able to like go with the camera with AI and get it translated. Then, like we only talked about 6 years ago, we weren't able to do that. So then trying to find food was quite difficult. Because obviously being on a very specific diet with Jamie, because he was, again, well documented, he was struggling to make bantamweight. He had this opportunity to go and fight Inoue in Japan. And then him making weight become a lot more difficult, a lot more difficult situation. So he had to have very specific food going into that. So a funny story where basically I'm going around supermarkets, going around cafes, trying to fight, because you don't know what's in this food as well, like salt intake, fibre intake, everything like that. So I went to supermarket, tried to get some veg and some fruit. Got this chicken and it looked uncooked. I thought, right, we've got some chicken. It needs to be on either chicken, turkey, or it needs to be on white fish. So I got this chicken. I went up and was like trying to translate in English to a waitress. Can you cook this, please? At the hotel, can you cook this, please? And she was just like saying, no, can't cook it. I'm just saying, please, can you cook it? And explaining the situation, she decided to take it into the chef. She come back out with the chicken and she said, the chef says it's already cooked. And I'm like, that is cooked? Are you serious? So then I've gone in, I thought, I can't give Jamie this without trying it. When I had a bite, it was the most rubbery, saltiest chicken ever. And I was just like, Jamie cannot eat this. So I was a little bit stuck for what I was going to do. And me and Jordan, who were great support that week, was walking around Yokohama. And we see this sign with British flag, the tavern, British pub. And it's like down these stairs, and we go down, and it's just like a normal pub serving John Smiths and everything like that. And there's this British guy there. And we had the conversation with him and just went, look, we've got this athlete, needs a very specific diet, needs white fish. What can you do? So we do fish and chips. We do fish and chips, but we do our own batter. So we've got the perch. So you can have the perch. If you come in with your own vegetables and everything, you can use the kitchen. Unbelievable. Like, so lucky that we got that, because I don't know how we'd been able to do that. We did all this refuel stuff there, did all the did all these meals up to making weight there. Unbelievable. But if it weren't for that pub, I don't know what I'd have done there. So it just shows like kind of going into that new environment where you haven't been before, potentially like, you know, getting like some information of what is the city like in terms of like, is it westernized? Is it like, what have you got around? And then just like in terms of Jamie, like he was pushing towards that weight, and it was in the final percentages in terms of him being able to make that weight. When you're moving, when you're going to different locations, you've got a lot of environmental considerations. You probably need to add on maybe 1 or 2%.
Yeah, definitely.
On top of that. And that is a consideration where, like, I've taken into other camps such as, not necessarily Fabio because he's a heavyweight, but when he's boxing out in Saudi Arabia, right, what do we need to do in advance to traveling, because we might have some limitations first few days when we're out there. We might find it hard to get the food or whatever, find out where our hotel is, find out where the gym is and everything like that. All them extra levels of information is so vital for when you're planning out a fight week training camp, when you're going into a totally new environment. So that was obviously a big challenge, but also like something that something that's really helped like me become a better practitioner from. And you have setbacks in your career, especially when you work in an elite environment, with elite athletes in challenging environments as well. You're going to come across like these setbacks, but the most important thing is that can you learn from it, and can you? And that was the main thing with that situation around Tokyo, is that making sure that you're organising something that might be a potential issue on fight week, when it's irreversible at that point. Can it be managed 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks in advance? And sometimes with athletes, like sometimes I'll be like on them about something, whether it's about the weight, about the body fats, about the performance, and you know, might be missing a session here and there. I'm like, I know at this point it's irreversible. Yeah. So something that's 10, 12 weeks in advance, 8 or 6 weeks in advance, if changes need to be made now. And I mentioned about Fabio, and that's one of the other big challenges with Fabio fighting David Adelaide in Saudi Arabia. He had an incident where he injured his chin and weren't able to spar. Only sparred like 2 weeks in advance. So we're like, right, what do we need to do to optimize them spars? We can't be like doing our high intensity training then. So we need to change the programming. What about his weight? We made sure that his weight was relatively lighter and not looking to like cut back on weight, making sure that he had the right fuel to fuel them sparring sessions, having the right recovery methods in place to make sure that he's recovering from that and then going again. And that is probably one of the best prepared athletes about it. Even though we had all these limitations around his sparring, going into that fight, he was so prepared physically, mentally, technically, tactically. Yeah. And I said it to him after. I said, being involved with like world title fights, everything, that's the best prepared I've ever seen an athlete. And that was an unbelievable experience. Just the whole, thing before the fight, being a 50-50 fight, being confident in your man, a lot of different situations around it. And then obviously the stage of it being in Saudi Arabia for Fury versus Ngannou, first big event there. So they chucked the kitchen sink at it, getting loads of people there, going around the weigh-in and seeing people like Cotto and Adesanya and Bivol and Roberto Duran. And then I was dying for a photo with Mike Tyson. But I always had people around him, and I was like in the back, like watching Ngannou go out for his weigh-in. And I took a little video of him like going out to the stage. It looked like A Star Is Born, like going out like Francis Ngannou is like waving out. I'm like thinking that's a really arty shot. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. And then I turned around and Mike Tyson was just there. It just goes, is Francis up there? I went, Mike, can I have a photo? I did turn into a little bit of a fanboy. Yeah. But how can you not be with all these legends and everything? I think the one was like where I didn't expect to see with Miguel Cotto, and I'm like a huge fan of him. I'm like, I've never seen Cotto ever. You see like different fighters at different events and stuff, but yeah, that were unbelievable.
But it's about planning, like organisation, learning from your experiences is the key to trying to mitigate some of the challenges that you might face in them irreversible periods. And like I say, it's no different on fight night really, or fight week. If you're around and you can help with planning and organisation and management of even the small things, it's so appreciated. You can be able to, because not everyone thinks like that. Not everyone has like a mindset where you're thinking in advance of what, if I do this, what's the knock-on effect of this? And that in part comes from coaching and a scientific mindset as well. If I do X, what will happen to Y? And so it's always useful to think about what will happen if I do this.
Plenty of what ifs, and the thing is, like, people try and stay as positive as they can. I think like having like a what if mentality and thinking, right, what if this happens? What if that happens? And everything like that. You can almost like Team GB did it for all their sports, did like a pre-mortem, and I think that when we talked to Mark, they wanted to kind of step away from that saying, but like almost like what will happen, but wanting to change that mentality of like what is going to be fundamental to success. And talking of success, obviously Fabio, that was a massive win, one of the best wins they've been involved with. Best wins for boxing science athletes, got Jordan Gill, few of his. You look at the first one where he beat, like, first title that he won against Ryan Doyle for the Commonwealth title. It was unbelievable because like he was going into that as an underdog. A lot of people are expecting him to get stopped later on, and everybody around that fight week were expecting him to lose, and you were quite affected by that because they were thinking, well, they haven't got a good opinion of me. I'm thinking get smashed. Like, am I thinking I'm better than what I am? I remember him being in WH Smith's, looking at the boxing news to look at the prediction, and said Jordan Gill stopped inside 8 rounds, and he chucked it down. And Paul Gill, he was funny that week because he likes to put it on people's toes. He did it for the Conlon fight that I'll mention in a minute. He was going, who do you think's going to win? For everybody, and everybody be like, trying to give him like the answer is things like Ryan Doyle's going to win. And he asked everybody all day. Then he just went, who do you think's going to win? To me, I think Jordan's going to beat him inside 8 rounds. And I think that'll stop him on his feet. And I think he stopped him 7 or 8. I forgot now. But it's round about then, stopped him on his feet. But that shows that you've got to kind of block out the outside noise and people thinking that you're going to lose or whatever. You got to think about the opinion of those that you trust around you.
Yeah.
Obviously, those that have, you don't want an unrealistic person around you going, oh yeah, you can go and beat boom.
Yeah.
Usyk, you can jump up to go and jump up to heavyweight and beat Usyk. You don't want unrealistic people around you, but people that know what they're talking about, people that you trust, people that got belief in you. And that's what Jordan had and still has now in that fight. But then that also helped his mindset in the Michael Conlan fight, because with the Michael Conlan fight, that was even worse.
Yeah,
nobody gave him a chance. And I remember looking at people saying, Jordan's going to win this fight, and they look at you going, I want to look away. And he was 12-1 to knock him out.
Unbelievable.
And all that week, I became more and more confident. And I remember just being me and him going back after his weigh-in, and I was just laughing. And he goes, why? He's smiling, and I'm just laughing. I says, you've got this, mate. You have got this. And like Jordan, used to put a lot of pressure on himself, but you see that pressure just alleviated because he's been through these scenarios where he's been the underdog, he's been beaten.
Yeah.
He's got to a point where he's just he's going into the lion's den, and he's just full of confidence. And when I saw him do that ring walk and getting into the ring, I was just 100% confident, because obviously you can go in and be 100% behind your guy, but you know that this is a tough fight. It could go either way. Yeah. But I was just 100% he's going to win this fight, and unbelievable. So that I'd say them two, and not in terms of watching the fight with Gurfey for the European title, but for him to be in that position, being in the corner, thinking, I'm thinking because I'm thinking first as a friend. I'm thinking, I'm not knowing what's going off in that corner. I know that Dave is top class, world class trainer, and he always looks out for his guys no matter what. So the fact that he was still in there, I thought he must know something that we don't. They must be all right. Yeah. And I knew that he had the perforated eardrum and everything like that going into the fight. So I thought something must be going off there. And he was to a point where he couldn't, he could hardly stand up. And he found that punch. And honestly, if you could bottle up that emotion there when he landed that shot, you could sell it for a lot. But let's put it in this bottle here. Available at Boxing Science. But yeah, unbelievable. Them three are at the very top, along with the Roans wins. Yeah. European title, probably one of the best performances I've seen from an athlete that I'm working with. And also the fight against Gongora, again, that's similar to the Jordan situation. When you're going into the fight as an underdog, he said that he walked past somebody in the ring walk and looked at him like you were going to the executioner chair, just like that. Good luck, mate, like that. And everybody thought that he was going to get knocked out by this guy, and he schooled him.
Good,
but he was so confident going into that fight. I've never seen anybody so relaxed and confident, dancing in the change rooms, dancing on his way to the ring. Unbelievable confidence to a point where confident but also focused at the same time, and he got the job done. So yeah, some massive wins there. I don't know how long we've been going on now, but we looked at the past 10 years, looked at some stuff from in the ring, outside the ring, how we developed Boxing Science. What are the next 10 years going to look like? We couldn't really say what it's looked like now. We couldn't foresee where the position that we're in, the website, the business, the workshops, the athletes I work with, the unbelievable and unforgettable moments that we've shared with them athletes as well. But what do you feel needs to change and further improve at Boxing Science, and then sport like boxing on a whole?
I think it's going to be really hard to predict what the future will look like in the next 5 years. I think we're we're going to see some massive technological and social shifts in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's going to be really hard to say, what it's going to be. But what you need to have is your core values and your core philosophies. And for us, that's probably not going to change. That's going to be education. It's going to be workshops. It's going to be trying to get our messages out to as many people as we can in boxing and other combat sports, and improve knowledge and understanding. We want to see more research. We want to see more scientific research. There is a growing body of scientific research. We can do things in-house, and we'll continue to do our own things in-house, but we still would like to see it a little bit more done externally that can then feed in. So, having good relationships with those organizations and bodies that are capable of doing research is going to be a great thing for us as well as we move forward. So education and training and research are absolutely, those core values that we need to just continue as we move forward for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think like say that our core values, our pillars are training, research, education, and also youth training as well. Keep going with that, because we've seen like a big shift in terms of like the athletes are now coming through now. Like the average counter movement jump back in 2014 was like 33 centimeters. Yeah. Now it's edging towards 40 centimeters, and we're looking at a 15% improvement in just a short amount of time. Like on an averaging base. So there's good stuff that is happening. I think that with the education needs to become some sort of accreditation where boxers know what kind of S&C coach to go for, because at the moment, because there's no qualification process or anything like that, if you are a boxing coach, you have to have either your level 1 England boxing. Yeah. I have there. You need your British Boxing Board of Control if you trainer's license to be a professional coach. To be a strength conditioning coach in boxing, you don't need anything. You don't need anything like UKSA accreditation or a level 4 strength conditioning qualification is needed to work in English Institute of Sport, or the UKSAI, what it's called now, or work in a professional sports team. You need that, but to work in boxing, it's almost like you're seeing like people like go to the most convenient person to them. And it's almost like that's why you're still seeing some questionable techniques and practices. And this can be dangerous as well, like especially when you're talking about like nutritionists, because like if there's no accreditation with the nutritionists, you're getting them to make weight and they're watching videos on YouTube about like UFC athletes dropping 10 pounds, 15 pounds in a hot bath or sauna. And they're thinking, oh yeah, I'll do that with athletes if the going gets tough. So there needs to be some sort of vetting process, some sort of accreditation where they become recognised. So then, because boxers and boxing coaches might not know the qualifications to look for. Yeah. I've never been asked about my UKSA accreditation or, my university degrees.
Apart from when Leo used to go, how many degrees have you got?
2.
How many degrees have you got?
Double degree Dan. And Bum I don't know how many degrees you've got. got a long list. So yeah, some sort of accreditation. I think like the making weight process can be improved. I think that the ceremonial weigh-ins are good for the UFC, where they've got a longer window for rehydration, but also the education around that and the support around that in terms of like they've got the hydration charts, they've got like the food provided, rehydration drinks and everything like that. All that's prepared. Everything's transparent. Like boxing, it's a little bit, nobody knows that people are cutting weight and how much they are. They tell the UFC Performance Institute, oh yeah, I'm cutting 5%. And they go, all right, okay, these are the drinks that you need.
Yeah. One of the advantages of being that the single entity within that space, in it being UFC and boxing. You've got several different promoters, and then several different governing bodies that could just be within one fight. So one doesn't want the other one to know what's happening, and a promoter might want an advantage over their fighters' opponents. So it does become tricky in that respect, and there's a lot in that respect. For plan organisation, is a little bit easier for the UFC to provide.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no reason why there couldn't be an independent body that is responsible for that. Like you've got independent drug testing through VADA.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why you couldn't have an independent body that is responsible for the health and safety, well-being of boxers around the weigh-in.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about independent bodies. We haven't got enough time for this, but probably drug testing needs to be probably improved as well. And the sanctions for that as well. But we're not getting into that because we're a couple hours deep now. So, Alan, it's been great. Finished with a fist pump. So that is 10 years. Look forward to the next 10 years and seeing how boxing science can grow, but not only boxing science, but strength and conditioning, people working in boxing, just everybody's just doing their best to try and improve these athletes, to improve awareness around these subjects and to just further impact the sport. So I think anybody that's listening to this, that's doing that, thank you very much for sharing the message. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed yet, either to the YouTube channel or the podcast channel, whatever platform that you're listening to, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content over the next 10 years. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Hopefully see you on the next episode of the Boxing Science Podcast.